So today I'm going to be talking about how to draw boats three different ways, three different approaches. So as you might or might not know, I do enjoy drawing the odd boat. So sometimes I do use a technique where I'll construct it all in perspective and do what I would say a proper job. Other times I'll just sketch it out. Often I'll just use pen straight away, sometimes pencil, but anyway, let's just go straight in and I can show you some different ways of doing it. So with the figure of eight method, you're essentially creating a very shallow figure of eight. Now we're going to be using one of my Boattober 2023 reference pictures here, so it's going to be day 7. Now if I'm looking at this now, I've done this figure of eight, what I can do now is I can actually go in and just start adding components. So here's the stem, which is the pointy bit at the front of the boat. The back of the boat is in fact, it doesn't have a curved stern, it's straight. So I can just add a straight line between those two lines there and then come down and start sketching in. As you can see, I'm holding the pen right at the back, which just suits me in my style. You might want to try that. And then these swoop forward here like that. There is a bit of a skeg on this boat here. So yeah, that's a very, very rough outline of a boat. Now, there's always, the nice thing about drawing boats is there's always gazillions of details you can add in, like all the staves in the hull. The ribs. And then obviously the boat is, I think she's carvel built, which means that she's built of planks smoothly laid on top of each other. All these lines help to sort of tell the story of the boat and how she's made. So that's a very rough one there. But this is a fountain pen with a flexi nib, hence its name. And you can do some really nice variable line width type lines with this one. So there were the thick lines help to sort of tell the story a little bit of the shape. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because that's enough for that method. So that is the shallow figure of eight method, where you're essentially doing something like that. I mean, there's the pointy bit, there's the rudder at the back. And that works for boats at certain angles and things, right? So the second method I'm going to talk about is the box method. Drawing in a box is basically trying to draw in perspective. Everything sits within a box. Our boat, a simple rowing boat here. So there's the bow. And there's the bow and the stern there. So if you were to put that boat in a box here, we'll put it in a box. Looks something like that. The bow of the boat touches the edge of the box there, which is about, I don't know, a quarter of the way down there, and the back of the boat is about halfway down there. So now if you imagine you continue that box along, mucky pen, and you draw the boat from the side, you know, because you're tracing that along, that the bow is going to be there, and you know that the back is going to be there. So you can actually draw the boat in like that. So that's how the boat would look from the back. Now if you were to continue these along the side here, you can do the other side of the boat in again, continuing that line across there. And then the back goes there. That noise is just the dog coming down to say hello. Right. So there we go. So that's the other side of the boat. Now you can do the front of the boat also by putting it in a box, because you know the bow again comes to there, and that's going to look... Sorry, this pen is it's quite a wet pen, and it just tends to leak and be a bit naughty. So there's the bow again. How that transmits now into 3D. So say for example, if you're going to be drawing your boat in the box here, so you've got a boat here looking slightly down on it, you won't put, there we go. So we know now that the bow is going to be a quarter of the way up, which is, now I'm going to continue and draw the rest of those lines in the box there. The bow is about a quarter of the way from the top, so the bow is going to be there, and the back of the boat, well, we know that's halfway down this line here, and it's going to be in the middle, and we know from it that it reaches both of those sides. So if you look at the back there, so we know that that is where the stern is going to be. We know it's roughly shaped like that. There's a curve that comes down about a quarter and a curve that comes down about a quarter. So if we mark that off into quarters there, we know that that curve is going to come down there and that curve is going to come down there. Right. So now we just have to basically connect up the bow. Now, there's not a lot to tell us the sort of shape of the bow, but if it's like most boats, it will sort of come down and then join up with this line here. And normally it'll be slightly lower amidships, so just here, going up to that bow. So that mark, it goes downhill to that mark, and the other side will do the same, so that would be over here. And then it'll loop around up to the bow, and then that one would come down like that. So I'm just going to put in a few extra lines to sort of describe the form. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and add, oops, this pen is leaking everywhere. Right, I might have to use another pen, a different pen for the rest of these. So basically, anything can be constructed in a box to get the perspective right. I'm going to put some seats in, again to try and sort of tell the story. And some of the ribs that live inside wooden boats. There we go, put some flooring in there. Okay, so you can see that's basically everything, drawing the boat to perspective inside the box. Now everything works like that. Obviously you can draw a house. Well, actually, what am I doing here? Yeah, so you know, that's a box. There's a house. Anyway, I'm diverging here. So basically, wherever you see a boat, so if you're painting a boat from above, you basically imagine it inside a box, and you're looking at it from above. So you know the bow's going to be in the middle there. You know the back might be, say, there. And then once you get used to thinking like that, you can start to sort of plan it out. That perspective also helps if the boat has, you know, a cabin. This is a sort of fishing boat. And also there's so often stuff inside boats, isn't there? You know, like boxes, and particularly fishing boats. Anyway, so that's sort of from above. If you're going to draw a box in a boat from the waterline, Now, particularly if you were quite close up, the perspective would be slightly exaggerated. So there's the waterline. But you know again that the bow's going to start there. The back of the boat's going to run along the back of that box there, sort of maybe a bit lower like that. So you know that it's going to come up there to the bow and then probably trail off around the corner there. And again, let's pretend it's a fishing boat, so put some of that perspective in it. So there you go. And again, obviously from the side, we know box, stern lower, up to the bow, and again like that. So one of the nice things about this flexing in pen is you get beautiful variable line widths. This grey fine liner, this is a bit like using a pencil, but unlike a pencil, you can't rub it out, so it's better. So it's a slightly softer mark, and you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, again, holding the pen towards the back, I'm going to just think about a very rough outline. And I'm not thinking too much, just vaguely trying to get the sort of length to height ratio about right. So actually that's wrong straight away. I've drawn it far too tall. Really free, just really, really loose sketching. That's got a bit of perspective in that top. And then we've got some of these flags coming up here. There's a line there. One of the nice things about sketching this way is it does actually help you look at the subject, which I know it sounds a bit crazy, but sometimes when you're sketching, you almost sort of forget to look at it. And there's a square bit back here. So I'm just building up those sort of vague lines. I don't think it's far off there, that. And then I think that's about right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up my fountain pen. This is my Opus 88. Opus 88. It's a beast. It's you just fill up the whole pen with ink. Yeah, it doesn't take cartridges. You just fill the whole pen up, and it lasts about a month before you need to fill it up again. Probably a lot of people, it probably lasts them a year, but anyway, they're very good. Now I'm going to start in this corner up here, because if you're a right-handed person, you could smear the ink with the back of your hand, so it's easier to start there and work that way. Now a lot of old boats have a stem, which is a wooden post, and there's some width in that which disappears quite quickly. I'm not going to be that super careful with this. I'm just going to really quickly sketch it in, and it's easier when you've got quite a few lines to sort of choose the one that you want, rather than just staring at a pretty sort of blank sheet of paper. Right, so here we have this fender bumpers. Okay. There's some stuff in the boat here. Again, I'm just being quite quick with this. I'm not being too precious. And then this comes down here, and then up there, and then down And then there's these anchor things over the side. There we go. Right, and then there's a line that runs there with the number on. And that, I'm going to put that in, goes there. Okay, and then all these specific details, like, you know, how you draw in the clinker, because this spot's clinker built, so it's made with overlaying planks. All these, there's techniques actually for that I've come across for sort of drawing all these accurately, but I'm not going to go into too many details today because this is just about rough ideas. And there you go, probably not far off there. So we've also got a bit of shore going along there, and then there's various bits of wood that the boat's sitting on here that come and stick out the side there. Okay, and I'm just going to put slightly... There's a knot in the table under this paper and it's so thin, it's just caught that anyway. So there you go. So basically that's how that works. You start very roughly and just sketch super loosely, you know, and then you go in and you resolve and harden up that image. Till you get whatever it is that you're doing. There you go. So that's the three techniques. You have the box, you have the figure of eight, and you have the loopy lines. And yeah, I hope that kind of gives you some food for thought. Those are all sketching, those are all techniques that apply to anything, whether it's sketching houses, people, whatever. I wouldn't recommend going around in your mind putting everything in a box because that might mess you up a bit. But it's a good way of learning about perspective, and it's a good way about learning how to construct things in 3 dimensions. Right, well, there'll be more of this to come. I hope that's an interesting little aperitif. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.